If you find yourself lost or stranded outdoors, one thing that needs to be on your mind almost immediately is finding or making shelter. But what if I don't have any materials? What if I didn't come prepared? What if all I have is what's on my back? Well, then you have to make do. And a debris shelter is one way to do that. Now we're going to start this by saying this is not rocket science by any means, but there are some considerations that you need to think about as you're building it. One is the ground. I want to make sure that it's at least fairly level, which I know it slopes here, but it does level off a little bit. Then I want to look to see what I have as far as rocks, sticks, anything like that in the ground to see if I can clear them away. So if that area is going to be good, the next thing I want to consider is the wind. Which direction is the wind predominantly coming from? For us here, it usually comes from the north or the northwest. So I want to make sure my entrance is not facing that direction. I want to make sure before I start construction that I look up and make sure there's no widowmakers or trees that may be falling. I also want to look to the left or the right for the same exact thing. So for this demonstration, I'm going slick, so no materials whatsoever. So now that I've selected my site and it seems suitable, we're going to begin construction. So for this demonstration, we're going to start with a ridge pole. I have a notch between multiple trees here, and that's what I'm going to use as the basis for my shelter. Not going too high with it, getting low enough where I can still crawl in, but I don't want to go too high where I can't trap my body heat. This is the basis for the frame for our shelter. You want something that's sturdy enough. This is actually a locust tree that had died. Locusts, fortunately, do not rot for a very long time, so it's going to last just fine. It's got plenty of support, so I can put some weight on it if I need to. You need to also make sure that this ridge pole is definitely longer than your body so that you can actually fit underneath. This is laying on the ground on one side and wedged up against these trees and the other. If I had rope or paracord, another way I could do this would be to put it between two trees. But again, I'm starting slick here with no materials whatsoever, completely unprepared. A lot of folks, when they build debris shelters, the focus is on leaves, and that's fine. Piling up leaves can be a good insulating layer, and it can shed some water. Depending on the leaves, the size, the type, how dry they are, they can definitely be a great material. One thing that's often overlooked is pine boughs, and that's something I happen to have a lot of right here in this area, so that's what we're going to demonstrate with today. The main thing I'm going to focus on is making sure that I have a good solid structure for my walls, which is also doubles for my roof. And then we're going to try our best to make it kind of a shingle pattern, starting from the bottom of the shelter, working its way up. That way it'll help shed the water. But the main focus here is to get this as thick as possible. The preference would be that it's about a foot thick, but you do the best you can with the materials that you have. Start by making some ribs, just for some added support. Now that I have the framework for my debris shelter set, we're going to start layering on the pine boughs. This is not intended to be a long-term home, but it's a good, suitable option if you don't have anything to at least get you out of the elements. It'll help shed water. If you think about when you stand underneath pine trees, a lot of times you're not going to get as wet at least. Maybe you get some dripping off the trees, but it's not pouring down. The rain's not able to pour down on you. It's the same concept here. If you think about it, it's a lot like the forts that a lot of us built when we were kids. So little did you know you've been practicing your whole life. This is definitely not for an ideal situation. Prepare yourself. Have a tarp, a poncho, something that you can keep yourself out of the elements. But in a pinch, this can help you survive. So this follows the basics of what you consider an A-frame shelter. In the wintertime, if you pack snow, if you have snow or you're in an area with a lot of snow, you could pack snow around the sides and on the top, again, making sure it's sturdy enough and making a big, thick base of snow around the top, and it'll help insulate you as well. If you want to level up your game, which I highly suggest you do, I would also create a bed underneath with pine boughs if you have the opportunity, or some sort of insulating material, whether it's leaves or whatever it might be. Moss would be another good example. But having a big, thick bedding base will help prevent heat loss through the ground. Here's a closer video of what it looks like. You can see the boughs are thick, which will help trap that heat and prevent precipitation from getting in as well. And I didn't build a giant shelter. It's just big enough for me to get snuggled in. Yes, I said snuggled. And ensure my body doesn't have to heat a giant space. Like I said before, it's just like a kid's play fort, just built with a purpose. So this is my first actual shelter construction of our new shelter series. If you follow along, I'll show you a few more shelter options if you're prepared with the proper materials. Thanks for watching. Please follow, like, share, comment, repost, and we'll keep this content coming to you.